This compost tip will save you time and help your pile to break down faster. You probably already know that one way to speed up this decomposition process is to chop up, using a secateurs, the organic matter into smaller pieces before adding it to your compost pile. But if you mow over the organic matter, the chopping is done in a fraction of the time.
This is my compost pile, and yes, I know it looks gross, but let's talk about it. The first thing is the nitrogen to carbon ratio. This is nitrogen. This is green things, food scraps, and your regular compost pile things. This should be about 1/4 of your compost pit. This is carbon, things like dry leaves. This should be about 3/4 of your compost pit. Every once in a while, I like to turn it or mix it up to get some oxygen in there. This really helps the composting process. A good compost pile has earthworms and little critters in it. Your composting mixture should be not too wet but not too dry, but moist like this.
At least once a week, you want to turn the entirety of your compost pile. I'm in a small space, so I start on one side, flip it over, then start on the other side, flip it back over. Make sure you turn the whole pile, because we don't want anaerobic activity or matting like this. And no, it doesn't stink.
There are 3 signs that your compost might need some adjustment. Number 1, your compost smells. If your compost smells, like really smells, it means that you probably have too many greens. Try adding some wood chips or cardboard on the top layer. If you see little white flies all over your compost pile, it's a good indicator that the pH of your compost is too low. And it's usually a result of having too many kitchen scraps. If you pick up your compost and it's clumping together, it means it's too wet. Kitchen scraps or your greens should provide enough of the moisture that your compost bin needs.
The best way to compost eggshells. Sherry is totally a genius. I researched this because that's what I do. I like to research. And normally, if you put these things in your compost pile, it takes 2 to 3 years for them to degrade. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to save up all your eggshells and you're going to put them on a cookie sheet or a baking sheet and put them in the oven just enough time to dry up the membrane. One I read about said that all she does is whenever she preheats her oven to bake something, she just puts them in then and it's enough time. And then you're going to pop them into your blender and grind them up into dust. And then it will degrade much faster in your compost pile. Or you can add them directly to your soil for things like tomatoes.